All right, board fam, 2022 called and they want their video topics back. So we have Emily Butler here. Someone sent this to me. A channel member sent it to me and said, you have to watch this video. It's a long video. It is 29 minutes long. We'll see how much we get through. But the title of the video is How Wokeness Ruins Storytelling. That's what I meant when I said 2022 wants their topic back. Like, are we still talking about wokeness in 2026? Are we still doing that? I thought we moved on to slop. I thought slop was a new word, but now, apparently we're still talking about woke, which, by the way, in 2026, it's a couple years into the most anti-woke government we've ever had. But the victim narrative has to keep narrating. They have to keep complaining about stuff. I'm very curious what example she's going to use in this video. So let's see what Emily has to say about how wokeness ruined storytelling.
Well, kids, you know what's on the agenda for today. You know exactly what this video is going to be about because...
Okay, well then why are we doing it? Why are we 30 minutes? 30 minutes on this? Why?
This is not the first video that has addressed this type of thing, right? We have been talking about this kind of stuff for years. We have been going on and on about all of this wokeness permeating our stories, permeating the media for years. They call it the culture war. We just call it standing up for ourselves. Because
I mean, those two things can be the same, right? Like, let's be clear here. You're participating in the culture war and you're doing it because you're standing up for yourselves. That was quite literally one of the dumbest things I've heard.
it's true. Over the last decade, I would say stories have become insidiously more woke. All storytelling, books, movies, TV, it's so much more woke.
Okay. So what I'm expecting in this video, so I don't have to keep pausing it. I know you don't pause so much. I like to talk about this shit. She's gonna have to show me how things have become more woke now than they were at the height of the anti-woke movement. Because that's the slippery slope, right? You have to show me the results of all of this wokeness. So I'm expecting she's going to name tons of things in 2026 that are super woke that make her argument. Let's see.
It's being shoved down our throats. And they claim it's about reaching these quote unquote modern audiences, which are always very nebulously sort of identified. And you're just asking yourself, are these audiences even real?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is woke is nebulous as well. So, I mean,
the modern audience even exist, or are they just modernizing the existing audience? They're shoving the critical drinker calls the message.
Oh, shout out to the critical drinker. It's a pick me thing. Got it. Aren't you big enough you don't need the critical drinker? I don't know your channel size. Maybe I'm giving you too much credit.
Feeding it and shoving it down our throats.
Right.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
And I'm offended by it.
We're still using that video clip from South Park. Again, I want something recent. Because you said that it's like, this has been going on for years. We should be at, like, 2026 should be the height of wokeness.
I'm offended by it and I'm bothered by it. And there's two reasons why I'm offended and bothered by it.
I don't care that you're offended. I don't care when people who support anti-diversity get offended. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm that guy, right? I'm not this tolerant person on the left who cares about your fifis. I don't care.
First one is, I just plain disagree with it. I think wokeness is highly divisive. I think it encourages tribalism, and I want no part of it. The second...
Well, you're participating in tribalism right now. You've picked a side. Therefore, you are participating in tribalism. You're not repeating a new thought that came into your mind. You said at the beginning of this video that this has been done many, many, many times before. So if this is something that's been done many times, shout out to Critical Drinker in the message, then you're not forming an original opinion. You are actually participating in tribalism in this video. Let's continue.
Reason is that inevitably 100% of the time, no exceptions whatsoever, wokeness will always completely and totally ruin the story.
That's just not true. I mean, she says it and her fans might be like, yeah, you cook with that, sis. Like, no, that's just not true. I'm sure she's going to give examples, but when you say 100%, like if you say 99.9% of the time, I'm going to go, that's a little sensational. You say 100%, I'm saying bullshit.
100% of the time, no exceptions whatsoever, wokeness will always completely and totally ruin the story. There's...
That's just not true. I mean, she says it and her fans might be like, yeah, you cook with that, sis. Like, no, that's just not true. I mean, I'm sure she's going to give examples, but when you say 100%, I'm saying bullshit. You say 100%, I'm saying
There's no exceptions. There's no graceful way to insert it. It is, once it is introduced, that story is over, it's done, it's killed. But let's back up a minute, okay? Because I'm not going to spend all day in the comments arguing about this. I want to back up, and I want to act.
Well, what's your definition of woke, though? Like, that's what I would add. Like, if I were talking to you right now, I would say, what is your criteria for what woke is? Because if you're saying it ruins things 100% of the time, and you don't want it in there, then are you saying, and I'm not saying that this is what she's saying. Okay, this is me sort of thinking out loud. Is she saying that all diversity ruins movies and TV shows? Is that what you're saying? I would really love some sort of like your own personal definition, because woke means so many different things to different people. I would love to know her own personal definition of what woke is.
Actually take a minute to define, at least from my perspective, what wokeness is.
Okay, here we go.
Just going by off of a basic Google definition here, okay? So if anything, this is probably the most kind of objective definition you're going to get of wokeness. So Google definition is that wokeness is a political and cultural term that refers to an active awareness of systemic social inequalities, such as racism, sexism, and LGBTQ plus discrimination.
Okay, so if that's your definition, I think it's fair to say that this means you don't want stories that tackle racism, sexism, social inequalities, which, by the way, that covers so many movies over the years. Like, social inequalities, systemic social inequalities covers so many movies over the years, so many stories over the years, or LGBTQ plus discrimination, all of these things. So you're saying that anytime we include awareness of these things in a story, it's 100% bad. So I was right. My assumption was that any of these themes that cover marginalized groups and being aware of these things in movies means that she just doesn't want to feature these kinds of stories in media. So you want active censorship of this stuff because you're saying it's 100% bad. So the only way to course correct is to not have it at all. Like, you can't say sometimes it's bad, because then you might, like, that leaves you a little bit of wiggle room, because you go, well, I'm not saying it's always bad, but we need quality assurance. You're saying it's 100% bad, meaning that you don't want it in anything. That's crazy.
This is not a political channel, guys. We're not going to spend all of our time dissecting wokeness and arguing back and forth about it. We're just not going to do that. But the most important takeaway from this, if you only hear one thing from this video today, this has to be it. The basic premise of wokeness is arguable. That means that it is not concrete. It is not a morally concrete premise that everybody agrees on, the same way that we agree that murder is immoral. The active awareness of systemic social inequalities, it's basically just declaring that these inequalities exist.
They do. Are you denying that social inequalities, you're saying that doesn't exist? You cannot be, like, this is not a serious person. There's no way. You don't have to be aware of them, but we quite literally have homeless people. We quite literally have homeless people. Another one that most people don't think about is food deserts. There's a lot of places in this country where food deserts exist. And what I mean by that is places where there are no easy to get to grocery stores. So you have to rely on like 7-Eleven or Family Dollar. Like, look this up. There's documentaries on YouTube about this. Those are all examples of social inequalities. There's wealth barriers. I'm just thinking accessibility for people with disabilities. Like, quite literally, there are laws in places so that people with wheelchairs can simply get into a building. Anyway, continue.
And that there is some sort of outspoken, defined hierarchy of privilege, right? Like, this is feudal.
There is. If you can walk and somebody can't walk, then you have the privilege of walking. I mean, quite literally.
Europe or something.
You do not command the dragon. I am Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't take orders from savages or their sluts.
Then it goes a step further, okay? And it basically says that this hierarchy of privilege is also a moral barometer, okay? That the people at the bottom of the hierarchy are the ones who are more credible, they're more morally sympathetic, And then as you work your way up to the top of the hierarchy, those are the least moral people. Those are the most suspect, the most morally wrong people that you...
No. See, the issue here is that you're not even understanding this. The people at the bottom are not in a position of power. Therefore, they do not get a say-so on what happens the same way the people at the top do. So the people at the top get the privilege of not having to pay attention to a homeless person or a person with a disability that may not have enough money to get back and forth to doctor visits. There's a lot of other factors into it, but you keep pointing toward the moral thing. I truly believe that you just don't even fundamentally understand this, or you're creating a narrative for your audience.
You can imagine, because they have the most privilege. You have a ton of people out there who agree with the woke premise, who say that all of these inequalities exist and that we need to fight them. You do. You have a lot of people who agree with that and back it up.
Because there's literal studies on this. Quite literally, decades and decades and decades of studies on this stuff. So I would like for you to cite sources that disprove these issues. I don't do trust me, bro, and I don't give a fuck about your opinion on it. You're saying they don't exist. So the burden of proof is on you. If they don't exist, provide some studies.
But conversely, you also have you have a ton of people who disagree with that.
I don't care about people disagreeing. You and I disagreeing on something isn't the same thing as an actual study. If we want to really dig in it, and I'm not going to do it in this video because it's already a long fucking video. It's 30 minutes. If you want to dig into it, there are tons of studies that talk about these subjects. There's entire portions of the government dedicated to making sure that these things are taken care of. So you're saying all of that is fake. None of it is real. If that is quite literally your opinion on this, our education system has failed us in ways that I don't even understand.
And disagree with the victimization hierarchy. Okay.
There's no victimization. To need assistance doesn't make you a victim, right? A person with a wheelchair that needs to get into a building that doesn't have a wheelchair accessible ramp isn't necessarily immediately a victim of something, but they are quite literally missing the ability to get into the building. So there's a lack of privilege there by not having that accessibility. So you could argue they might be a victim of the system. You could say that. That's a fair argument. But quite literally, they're just nobody's giving them thought on getting into buildings where they need to get into, whether it be like a government building or a grocery store or something like that. We have parking for people who are handicapped. This is a level of brain rot that is far beyond anything I've encountered recently.
Okay. And that is why, without fail, 100% of the time, wokeness will ruin the story.
Right. So it's so sad that the awareness of any of these issues in stories bothers you so much, these things in stories, that fuck all the people in the real world that are actually being affected by these issues. We have to pretend that doesn't exist because some of the stories that you've watched had a gay person in them, or a black person, or a woman that was affected by misogyny or the pay gap or something, anything like that. Whatever it is in the story that occurred completely ruined it for you. So doesn't exist. Fuck all the people in the real world that actually suffer from this. This is a level of privilege that is crazy to me.
100% of the time. Why? Because it assumes that all of us in the audience agree with its premise.
It's really crazy to me that we've reached a point in media literacy. I'm bringing that back. It's been a minute since we talked about that. In media literacy, where when you're watching a movie about someone who is, I don't know, being hurt by something, that you sympathize with the aggressor and not the person that is being hurt by the thing. Crazy. Absolutely crazy that now we've reached a point now where your bigotry is so big and massive and wide that if you see a black person suffering racism in a movie, you immediately don't want to side with that black person because it's woke. That's where we're at.
Spoon feeds us its premise, its correct conclusion, and then forces the characters and the plot into a narrative obedience to support the theme. That's
quite literally how stories are written. That's a form of storytelling. Go off, sis.
probably half of the audience doesn't agree with and doesn't buy into in the first.
Probably half, but we don't know because she's not done any studying whatsoever.
That is why it will always, always, always fail. It is ideology first storytelling.
Bambi. You have no proof of that. This is some critical drinker like runoff, right? This is the drool from critical drinker's mouth personified.
Not focused on, are these characters realistic? What are their motivations? What action leads to what consequence? It always, always, always boils down to, this is the theme. This is the message that audiences need to walk away with, and everything else be damned. If a character wouldn't ordinarily say that, they're going to say it.
I would really love an example. Just one. This run off the mouth stuff where you're just talking doesn't make you right. Like, it doesn't make you right. You're saying that this character is saying something they wouldn't ordinarily say. Give an example. Tell me what you mean by that. Because if you don't tell me, this is why these videos are so crazy to me. If you're not telling me as a viewer, like say, for example, this is the first video that I've watched from your channel. It's like the third video, but say it's the first video I watched on your channel. If you are not actually giving me the information that I need to understand what you're talking about, then you are simply just reinforcing your current viewer base. All you're doing is making sure the propaganda has set in. That's quite literally it. Because all you're doing is reminding the people that watch you that these things are bad because of talking point. That's all it is. You're quite literally projecting all of this onto movies, going, all they're doing is trying to feed us a narrative. All they're doing is telling us we're supposed to listen to them. All they're doing is all these things that supposedly make us want to bend the knee to whatever their message and narrative is. You're doing it right now. That's quite literally what you're doing right now. Give me an example.
If this wouldn't happen in this timeline, guess what? It's going to happen because the theme called for it. Now, to be clear, this is different from a story that addresses real historical social issues, like, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird. Avoiding wokeness in stories doesn't mean rewriting the past or avoiding these issues altogether.
All right, fam, I did a little bit of digging. To Kill a Mockingbird was controversial when it was published back in 1960. There was backlash and institutional criticism because it was published during the heights of the civil rights movement. The book challenged the racial status quo of the Jim Crow South. While newspapers in larger southern cities praised Harper Lee's work, it alienated conservative readers across the region. There was also an issue with profanity and language. Surprise, surprise. The novel's realistic depiction of 1930s Southern dialogue included frequent use of racial slurs. Early complaints often lumped the slurs together with general profanity and coarse dialogue as grounds for removing it from school libraries. So it was quite controversial when it was released. Very similar to how woke things are controversial in modern times. But you didn't bother to look any of this up when you wrote your hit piece script.
That's not what I'm saying. There is a difference between a story that addresses and confronts these issues and explores them versus forcing an ideology to reverse some of these issues or exaggerate some of these issues into a story where it otherwise just doesn't belong.
So give me an example. You gave an example of how you think the correct way to do it is, but you're not giving me an example of the incorrect way to do it, according to you. According to you. So give me one fucking example, please.
Now, even exploring themes of power dynamics or, abusive leadership, that's not inherently woke. I mean, look at Game of Thrones. But when you do dumb shit, like, I don't know, grind the entire plot of Stranger Things to a fucking halt so that Will can have a 7-minute coming out scene when everybody has known for the last 10 years that he's gay. The actual physical last 10 years. The entire audience knew that he was gay.
This is a dumb argument. I've heard this argument so many times. So stupid. So stupid. Coming out as a gay person is not for everybody else. It is for you. You're doing it for yourself. It is a personal opening up of something about yourself to the world. I hate to break it to you, Emily, but when somebody comes out, it isn't for you. It isn't for everybody else. It is for this person, whoever they are, to finally say something about themselves that they have not verbally reflected on in public. I don't care if the audience knew, which, by the way, that's bullshit. It was always speculation. But the audience knowing still doesn't matter. It was something they wanted to do for the character before the end of the series. They decided this was the best way to do it. You don't have to like the scene. There's a lot of issues, in my opinion, for the final season of Stranger Things. But to criticize a gay character coming out on a show, that's crazy.
Not only did we know that he was gay, half the audience was looking for him to have a love scene with Mike. We knew that he was gay. We didn't need...
Oh, so you act like him having a love scene with Mike would have been any better. What if he would have just kissed Mike in the finale? Would the opinion have been different? What if he didn't say he was gay? What if we just got a scene of him kissing Mike? Do you think these guys would have been okay with it? Do you think that would have been fine? No. So this is one of those things where you're pretending to give your concern trolling. You're pretending to care about it in a way that's meaningful. It's not. It's not. If he would have kissed Mike in the finale, you guys would have been mad about that too.
This scene, the characters in the story of Stranger Things knew that he was gay. They talked about it. It was known. And then you also had a moment where he had a reckoning. He reconciled his sexuality with himself at the end of Volume 1. You know what the end of Volume 2 should have been? It should have been our gang actually defeating and killing Vecna, only to find that the Mind Flayer has been in control this whole time, and now it is unleashed from the upside down into our world, and they have to find a way to force it back in. And
okay, I don't care about any of this. like you gave your example. Your example doesn't hold up. Your example doesn't hold up. That's not wokeness. A character coming out is not wokeness. It quite literally doesn't even fit into the definition that you showed. This scene doesn't fit into that. You are redefining what wokeness means to include a coming out scene from a character. Now, again, you don't have to like it. You could say, I don't like the episode. I didn't like the scene, whatever. I've heard people say they didn't think it was authentic. That's fine. That's your opinion about it. But now you're trying to redefine what wokeness is. There was no awareness of any discrimination or inequality in that scene. It was simply him coming out to his friends. And now you're rewriting season 2.
Seal the gate forever. Just a thought that maybe we don't sit around and talk about sexuality for 7.5 minutes.
It's really interesting that you're asking for better stories, but then here you're showing a clip about looking for action in a show. So what are they allowed to do for 7 minutes? Is dialogue not allowed? There's plenty of characters in the final season that sit around and talk about relationship stuff and sexuality for gaps of time. But for some reason, this is the one you're singling in on and saying that the problem is that he did it for 7 minutes and maybe he should have just kissed Mike. But you know that's not something you want either.
That scene took longer than it took the United States government to kidnap Maduro and bring him to the United States.
Oh, right. Yeah. Why bring that up? Okay.
What are we doing? What does that have to do with Vecna at all? Calm down.
Stranger Things is not all about Vecna. Media literacy. Quite literally fucking stupidity. The whole show is not about what happens to Vecna. Holy fuck.
It's just, it's still a little bit fresh for me, okay? I don't miss the show.
Which by the way, that's your example. I thought wokeness has taken over everything. So you're talking about Stranger Things. That came out last year. That was last year. We are in August of 2026. I need some more examples. Give me some more examples. If wokeness is so rampant, give me some examples.
And I'm not sad that it's over. I grieve for what could have been. I'm centered, I am calm, and I'm going to walk you through just 2 examples side by side, okay? I want to walk you through 2 different franchises, Hunger Games and then Disney Star Wars. Let's just take this at face value, right?
Okay, so we're going back to, the last Star Wars movie from Disney Star Wars that had those characters in it was 2019. So that's not That's before COVID. And which Hunger Games? Let's see which one you're talking about.
On paper, Hunger Games could be perceived as a woke narrative. You have the strong...
Well, the fact that you're now making an argument that some people could perceive it as woke, then this side-by-side comparison doesn't matter. I'm just going to put that out there. This doesn't matter. But we'll let her finish.
Female protagonist who overthrows a white male dictator. You have her leading the revolution. You have her killing people. You have her rising to the occasion as a war hero. So there's a lot of elements there that could satisfy woke themes.
Right.
But Hunger Games is not a woke story, okay? It is not woke storytelling.
According to you. Because you don't want it to be. You just laid out the grift. Everybody, she laid out the grift. What she did there is she showed you and showed us how you can frame something as woke when it's not. You have just debunked yourself. I don't even know if it's worth watching the rest of this video, to be quite honest. I'm going to try to stick it out a little bit more. But the fact that you have proven that you can just call a movie woke based on some elements and then say, but it's not woke, you've destroyed your entire argument.
Why? Because the narrative obedience isn't there, and there's no identity-based virtue, okay?
This is subjective.
The leader who is coming in to replace Snow was President Coin. She's a woman, and she turned out to be as bad or worse as Snow. So there's no assertion
she's a girl boss.
That a female revolutionary leader who topples the dictator is just inherently better just because. And that's...
I mean, you could make that argument. You've already said you could make that argument.
It's really, really important, you guys. That's a really important distinction.
It's really important to her narrative, you guys. It's really, really fucking important to her narrative. Get on to Star Wars.
Because it's not about just saying, oh, a girl can't be an action hero or a white male can't be the villain. That's offensive. That's not what it's about at all. It's about forcing a theme onto the rest of us by making the characters and the narrative level up to that theme. And just to double down on this point, okay?
So new criteria just hit. DLC. Anti-woke DLC just hit.
You have two very different female protagonists in the Hunger Games and Disney Star Wars.
Right. You'd have two different ones because otherwise we'd be watching the same story. I would hope they would be very different because they're two different franchises and two different characters. And women are not monolithic. So I hope they would be different.
You have Katniss in the Hunger Games. You have Rey in Star Wars. Both are strong female protagonists, okay? But Katniss is not a girl boss. She's not just presented as some sort of proof that women are just inherently better than men. She is a particular specific human being with her own abilities, her own burdens, her own weaknesses. She is a unique, specific individual. And just to reinforce what I'm talking about, I'm going to walk Katniss through the Butler test. If you don't know what the Butler test is, it is a character development test that I created to be able to gauge the level of depth in the writing and the dialogue for specific characters.
Oh my God, we watch Jesterbell and I kind of laugh because sometimes I think it's like actual ignorance on stuff. But now I'm watching this and I'm like, is she really this ignorant and this naive? Or is she just really committed to the bit? Like, which one is it? I'm very curious about this Butler test. Like, who gives a fuck? Quite literally. You started out with a definition and I'm like, okay, so we're going with the definition. And here we are, we're like a good chunk of the way into the video and fuck the definition. Now we're getting into like your purity test shit. Like, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing.
You can do it for any character. I like to do it a lot for female characters because I think it's really important to discern when we're criticizing a female character why that is. Okay. Is she
it's because of the fact that women are held to a different standard than men in society. Oh, that's not what you meant? Okay, we'll let you continue.
Actually deep? Does she actually have meaning as a character? And I think Katniss does. If you look at rule 1, the character has to have a very specific skill, trait, attribute, worldview, possibly even a psychology that is...
Because I don't want to sit here and listen to her do this.
Throughout the entire franchise.
When I asked for examples, guys, earlier, I wanted modern examples. I wanted her to talk about stuff that's currently, like, contemporary, like stuff within the last 3 or 4 years. She did Stranger Things, was a bad example, but at least it came out last year. We're jumping back to like 2012 and 2019, right? We're jumping back to a point where, like, why are we discussing this as like an example of like current stories being bad? Current stories, because I'm pretty sure she's going to be referencing the first of the Star Wars sequels, which is even further back than 2019. We're not going to listen to her go through her dumb little litmus test of stuff. We're going to pick up at the end when she gets to her point, because I don't give a fuck about all this Hunger Games stuff, Star Wars stuff. Like these movies came out both over a decade ago. Okay. Over a decade ago. They've been discussed ad nauseum at this point, both of them. So I want something more contemporary. So I'm asking for something within the last 5 years, if possible, other than Stranger Things. Let's jump ahead. Spoiler alert, she never got beyond Hunger Games and Star Wars. You guys didn't have to sit through it. I did. This video is a colossal waste of time. It quite literally is a colossal waste of time. I apologize to the person that sent it to me. I'm not going to sit here and challenge her opinions on Hunger Games versus Star Wars. Like, I don't really care about that. Her statement at the beginning was she was talking about how wokeness has ruined storytelling. And the only example that she gave recently was a scene in Stranger Things from last year and the 2015 Star Wars movie. And she defends the Hunger Games, even though she says that you could make an argument that the Hunger Games is a woke movie, meaning that all of this stuff is narrative driven. If I can make an argument that something is woke and make it make sense like she did in this video, then that means the system is broken. The woke meter is broken. This was a dumb video. I don't think, I'm going to have to remember to never watch an Emily Butler video again. I mean, unless it's somewhat entertaining. This one, it was like 20 minutes of her talking about a movie from 2012 and 2015 and just complaining about the same things we've heard about Rey for years. Pointless video. And dumb.